Okay. Next, Medalist second season. If you'll recall from, I think that was last year, I had my gripes about the first season, but ultimately still enjoyed it overall. Haven't heard anybody talk about the second season, and I know it's only like 9 episodes, and there's a movie coming afterwards. Uh, Although probably people aren't talking about it because it's in Disney Plus jail. I've seen a lot of fan art though, so let's see how it goes. Alright, that's another season of Medalist down, and I feel pretty much exactly the way that I felt before, if not more so. By the way, if you're watching a video version of this, I apologize if I look a little weird. I scratched my eye and it still stings a little bit. It actually made it very hard to watch anime, so I might just keep my eyes closed while I record this. So I assume most of you only listen to this in the background anyway. But yeah, new season of Medalist. Only 9 episodes, which my initial reaction was like, oh yeah, they can barely hold this production together, I bet, and they wanted to split the back end of this off into a movie, which I don't doubt is still the case, but also I think it does make sense to split this up for this. At least if you're going to make a movie, this is the perfect place to do the split before I think it's the All Japan Cup is the competition that they're about to go into at the end of the season. And I went back, checked my stockpile of the manga, which I have quite a lot of, actually. I'm up to date on the English releases for Medalist, and I actually had to go back and refer to these for something that I'll talk about later. But in any case, yeah, volumes 8 and 9 are the big All Japan Cup thing, and this season 2 ends right before volume 8. It ends like right at the end of volume 7, so it's like, okay, yeah, that's, if you're gonna do a movie, it has to be there. So, because otherwise I was like, why are we just leaving off halfway through an arc? But it ended like right before the tournament, so that works. In terms of story, it's still Medalist. It is getting much more into the shonen sports aspect of it. I don't know if this is shonen or seinen. I don't think it really matters. It gets much more into the sports manga aspects of this series with this season, with all of the different combinations and strategies and exercises and training arcs and all of that stuff. It really gets into that stuff with this season. And it's really good. I think I mentioned in the first season that the manga gets a little text heavy and it makes it a little difficult to process all of the information in those big chunks like that, but just the simple fact of having it narrated to you makes it easier to parse through, like GOEs and how scores work and combinations and all that stuff, and the differences between different jumps and such. So credit where it's due, this show does do that. I still think it gets a little too angsty with its more dramatic moments, especially the stuff with, I forget what her name is, from the older girl when they go to meet in one of the earlier episodes. I forget what her name is already. Like the scene where Inari asks how to become an Olympian, and then the other girl just like freaks out, just gets immensely angry over it. And then there's another scene with her too. She's actually a really fucking good character, especially later in the manga. I think the anime makes it a little too angsty. Like, I covered this with like Ryo in the first season, and the other girl in the first season, the cat girl. But otherwise, the story's really not the issue with Medalist. In terms of the narrative being told, uh, it's just beat for beat the manga, basically. Um, Incredibly compelling. Inori as the plucky underdog, late starter, classic trope done really well, and it's done really well here. Most of my issues with Medalist come from its presentation, which is odd considering how clean a lot of it is, but that's also part of the problem. Now, firstly, before I get into the really nitty-gritty stuff, there is just a lot of compositing issues in this. There are a lot of shots where it's just character, background, not meshing at all. There are a lot of shots like that. It's extremely distracting, especially when we get into the CG character models. I have some aspects of the color design might be playing into it, with some colors being a little too saturated, but that's not as big an issue as just like the general compositing of the shot and making sure everything matches digitally. Fuck it, let's just get into it. The CG skating scenes, they were fine. I will say, in terms of being anime CG, it's at least average or above average. They definitely nail the movements. I will say the limb movements and body movement, it nails. It's very good at the motion capture stuff, or I don't know if it is motion capture actually, but it's very good at the motion and portraying the skating scenes in ways that are extremely accurate to like how at least the appearance of accuracy to real life movement. It looks like people skating for real. Now here's the issue. It's still not fully composited correctly, so it's obvious when you're looking at a CG model versus when you're just looking at a 2D design. They do their best to hide it, but it's still just not possible, especially since they don't do anything with the frame rate. I think it's just at 24 or 30 FPS or something, the standard frame rate for CG stuff. But here's something I noticed this time around is the character models that they spend a lot of time with get more attention than the character models that don't. Seems obvious, but it really stands out in this one when you see facial expressions. Like the girl with the red hair, I forget what her name is. Like, they only use her model like a couple times, her CG model. And so the facial expressions don't look quite right. They look very robotic and wooden and just not good. Whereas the models that are used a lot more, like Inori and Hikaru, tend to look a lot better. They tend to have better facial expressions. They tend to be composited better as well. Not all the time, but it's definitely a matter of they're spending more time with this model, and so they are able to work with it better to make scenes look better than they do with other models, which is disappointing, I guess, because those other models deserve just as much attention. If you want to make like the whole thing work, this is the Medalist anime is me being at my most nitpickiest, because like phenomenal fucking manga with incredible art, like absolutely glorious artwork that's very It's not very clean artwork. It's not really defined by its like hyper accurate line work and stuff. It's a little bit like the line work's a little bit sketchier, a little bit less clean, purposely so, to give it this more wispy appearance. And the anime does not do that at all. And that leads to some issues, which you won't be able to see it even if I put it on camera, but the character of Yuna Yagi, I believe her name is, so in both the anime and the manga, like, this is true to her original design. Her pupils are turned like 90 degrees. Like, you know how you have the ellipses for the pupils that go like up and down usually with some anime characters? Hers are turned to the side. They almost look like goat eyes, almost. But instead of like the square shape, it's still an ellipse. And so it looked, but in the manga, the line work is so light that you barely notice it. It kind of just looks like a vaguely interesting way to draw a character eye. It's also not as elongated, so it's not super noticeable. It just comes across in scenes where the emotional weight of scene comes up more, and so that particular eye design becomes a little bit more striking. But in the anime, it's all extremely polished and clean, and line work is very straight and rigid. And so you've got these very perfect ellipses turned this way, turned left to right instead of up to down for this character. And when you get a extreme close-up of her eyes, it looks really weird, because eyes aren't supposed to look like that. I say that about I say that about anime eyes as if those are not obviously unrealistic. The point is, it looks weird. And so every time we get like a close-up or an extreme close-up of this character, it stands out in a bad way. And that's a perfect encapsulation of why I have issues with this adaptation. I still like it overall, but there is a fundamental the fundamental way in which this show is being animated and how it differs from the manga is not allowing it to fully capture what makes the manga look cool, and B, it creates issues for the animation when it tries to take things from the manga. Like that. Like with eye designs, or with how certain other character designs look, or how the skating works. Like, yeah, this is just me at my most nitpicky. I am totally fine with that, because it's a manga that you kind of need to be nitpicky about when it's getting this kind of adaptation. That is just where it's not that the story is completely different, it's that the aesthetics are different enough to be noticeable, but not different enough for them to be their own thing. Am I making sense? I had to watch this over the course of like 4 or 5 days instead of just binging it because my eye fucking hurt. But, yeah, that's my fundamental issue with Medalist. It's getting a standard high gloss anime adaptation when it should have gotten something a little bit more auteur, I guess. Something with a little bit more of its own identity, because the high glossiness of it all also comes back to bite it when the compositing doesn't work, and there are shots that just look bad. Like, there's a lot of shots that are just framed really poorly as well, and that just comes down to, like, inexperience, I think, or maybe just lack of talent. I don't know. Or just lack of time. Could be lack of time. We already know from last season that the director came on Twitter and was like, hey, we just barely got that one done, and we don't have enough animators for this next season, so I need help. Like, he literally just went on Twitter and was like, we need help for this season, this upcoming season. And it's like, but there's not a lot of jank. There's a little bit in terms of, like, movement, or in terms of, like, how character designs are drawn, but so it's not that part of the show that looks bad. The part of the show that looks bad is the putting everything together. Compositing 2D assets onto 3D assets, or 3D assets onto 2D assets, or 2D assets onto 2D assets, for that matter. Also, there were a few cuts in this where the skating was done in 2D. In fact, there were a lot of cuts like that, actually. Not very long ones, but they were there. So it's like, with enough time, this could be done well in 2D. I don't know how it would look with the rink, because the rink is just CG all the time, it seems, and that would also be a compositing nightmare. But this adaptation clearly doesn't have enough time. So, yeah, this is I don't know how to score this, because it's like, I still had a fun time watching it. I still got all the way through it. I'll probably still watch the movie. I'm just perpetually slightly disappointed in this adaptation. It's just not reaching the heights that it should, and it never will. Maybe with a full movie budget, it will. I don't know when the movie's coming out. I think it's supposed to be this year, in which case, but maybe it'll work. I realize I did not say much about the story at all for this, because it's really just kind of what I said. It's Inori being underdog sports protagonist, doing underdog sports protagonist things. I did like the brief little emotional arc with her, A, defending her sister after she got an injury, and B, seeing that as like something that unnerves her, like the ever looming presence of injury, and how that could completely fuck up her entire career. So I liked that bit. Not a lot of Hikaru in this season, which I understand because that's how it is in the manga. But I do like that the very brief parts of her that we do see, it's just this very majestic, mysterious beast, for lack of better words. Yeah, if you're not as nitpicky about the compositing and animation and all of that as I am, you're going to be fine with this season. You might even love this adaptation. I don't love it. I'm still watching it. Not on Disney Plus or Hulu because, no, evil. But, yeah, I'm still watching it because this is a really damn good story. And it's not a completely busted adaptation. NG somehow is pulling it off. This is by far the best looking studio NG show out there. Not a high bar. Not a high bar at all. But yeah, I guess that's where we're at. Alright, Medalist second season is complete. Against all odds, it's still good. But I'm going to put you in the number 4 slot with a light 7. I refuse to budge on my nitpickiness. It's still good, but 8.5-ish on Mal? No, I don't think so. It's good, but not great. Okay, next. Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider. I actually don't know that much about Kamen Rider. And I assume this is going to be either a parody or like a riff on the idea of Kamen Rider. I don't know what to expect. Let's jump into it. Okay, I think I get what this one's going for. It's like it's not gonna be a real Kamen Rider series, but it's still about a guy who wants to be Kamen Rider. I read a little bit of the synopsis after getting through about half of the first episode just to see where it goes. And it's like, I can see where the jokes will come from, because this is, as I like to say, tongue buried so far in cheek that it's poking out the other side. Two problems. One, it's not really funny, actually. It's just, like, wild and, like, over the top. But it's also not hype either. It kind of tries to be both, but it doesn't really do a good job of either. So I'm just sort of left sitting here going, wow, that happened. That certainly happened. It's impressive, I guess, but not fun. I'm also not like a huge Kamen Rider guy. I don't dislike it, but only because I really haven't seen a whole lot of it. Like, now that I think about it, the only Kamen Rider things I've seen are Shin Kamen Rider, the original manga by Ishinomori, and there was an anime a few years ago, I think, or last year. Might have been I don't remember. Like, that kind of sucked. So I'm not the biggest Kamen Rider guy in the first place, so I'm not gonna catch, like, any references. So that's there's that. And two, it's not the best looking show. It's very flat, very thick outlines for the characters, and character designs are a little bit exaggerated. The main girl in the first episode's got like these massive fucking tits for a high schooler. It's wild. And like the facial expressions are hyper exaggerated, very thick and distinctive line work. But also they're not like it's just not pleasant to look at. Like, whenever it does like the blush effect, like when you have like a character blushing, there's no gradient to it. It's just these bright pink ovals on their cheeks. Like, they don't even do like the cross-hatched thing. They just do these like bright, well, they do that, but then they also do the big bright pink ovals, and it just looks really bad. I don't think this show looks good. I, if I was maybe a really big Kamen Rider fan, I could see myself sticking with it, because I already understand what it's trying to go for, and then maybe I would be able to appreciate what it's going for more because I would get some of the incoming references, maybe, or just I would just be able to like shout along with whenever they do like the transformations and all that stuff. But also, this is 2 cores. Why is it 2 cores? Yeah, I just nah. Yeah, that's not for me. Kamen Rider coming off the list. Kunon, the Sorcerer Can See. Have not seen anybody talk about this one. I know nothing about it other than I'm going to assume. I think I saw the key visual for it. It looks like the main character might be blind. Could be interesting. Let's see if it is. Wow, that is some really unfunny comedy. Got about an episode and a half into Kunon, the Sorcerer Can See. I like the concept. I don't think they're going to do enough with the concept of a blind sorcerer who learns how to see through magic. But it's got a foundation that I was willing to see it build on. However, a few things. One, as I mentioned, the comedy's really bad. It's, like, obnoxious. I don't like any of it. And there's a lot of it. So it's really hard to overlook that. 2, a lot of the dialogue scenes feel very exposition-y at times. But that's more so due to 3, doesn't look particularly good. There's a lot of really bad shot composition, a lot of not great facial animation, and the character designs aren't particularly good. The color design's okay. It's very brown, so it's not really like jumping out at you. Overall, I would say this looks average at the very best. Probably slightly under average actually, but yeah, it's mostly the comedy and how it looks. I could see some interesting world building happening. Like, this is setting itself up to have a interesting magic system, at least. I don't think they're really going to dive into it, but it at least has potential for an interesting magic system, but it's just not pleasant to ride along on the way there. Yeah, no. Could have been interesting, but not quite. Alright. The daily life of a part-time torturer. Another one that I have not heard anything about. I liked the last Torturer anime that I watched, but that was a fun little Dogakobo show, which I don't think this is. Let's try it out. So I went into this one thinking it would be like a fantasy torturer kind of thing, like 'Tis Time for Torture Princess. No. I mean, technically it is, because they put a little banner at the front of the episode where it's like, this is a world where torture and killing has been legalized. And but before I got to that little Chiron, as soon as I realized, like, oh, this is just like the real world, I was like, what? I have moral concerns about this, because this is just a show about torturing, I guess. And so the actual premise is like, it's like a third-party torture company? Like a fucking Amazon DSP, but for torture? What? I have moral concerns, but more so than that, it's also, like, not funny. It's supposed to be a comedy, but, like, the thing they're doing is, like, really gruesome, actually, and they don't fully lean in all the way. So it's just, like, them doing gruesome, heinous things to people who may or may not be guilty. Like, they just straight up say that at one point. It's like, man, what if this guy's innocent? That would be really fucked up and annoying, and what a hassle. I'm like, huh? But again, it's also, like, not funny. Just the punchlines aren't good. The setup's not barely there. Kind of looks super mediocre. And also, they also don't show much of the torturing, because, like, that would be very graphic and you kind of can't show it on TV. Or at least on Japanese TV, I guess. So, like, you can't even make jokes out of that. Like, haha, got your spleen, haha. So, like, what's the point? I don't get it. Yeah, no, that kind of sucked. Off the list. Wash It All Away. This one got a pretty decent bit of publicity when it came out, and it was... I think people like this one, maybe, or some people like this one. This is the one about working at a laundromat, I think. I think it's a PA Works show, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Let's see how it is. Yeah, I clocked what this one's doing right away. This one is what I would call a look at this really cute anime girl slice of life show, with mild bits of fan service, very tintillating shots of shoulders and bathhouse scenes, and lips, and it's not bad fan service, I'll give it that. It was mildly titillating. The girl's character design is questionable. It's got some of the... How do I describe... Frumpy is not the word I'm looking for. It's got a specific set of anime girl characteristics that you've probably seen before. It reminds me a little bit of Bakuon, a little bit of Yuru Camp, specifically Season 3 Yuru Camp with the character designs. The particulars of her facial features are interesting. The rest of the show is very boring. Like, yeah, slice of life. Not a lot's happening. But, like... And also, I think she's supposed to have amnesia, which... Writing amnesiac characters is always very tricky because it's really easy to make them boring. And, yeah, they made her boring. She's a very boring character. She's just very pleasant and calm and nice to talk to. With from what I've seen, I got like 2/3 into the first episode. Doesn't really have any other personality traits. I don't know the things that she likes or dislikes aside from like feeding her fish, maybe. She's a very boring character. Not a lot of pep or life or just anything remotely interesting about her. Animation's fine, but it also has some framing issues, some weird shots that don't look quite as good as they could. I don't like hate this show or anything, but like there are better slice of life cute girls doing cute things shows out there than this one. I just don't. I definitely don't see myself watching the whole thing. I can get cute girls that actually kind of look like this one in other places. Yeah, this is just kind of mid.
Okay, I'm gonna wash you off this list. Anyway, you can't be in a rom-com with your childhood friends. Already hate the title. But prove me wrong. Prove me that you're more than a bad title.
Yes, the old tried and true points out the trope thing that is never going to happen, proceeds to do the thing. I don't know how far I got into this stupid fucking rom-com thing, but it's like, I don't know what I was expecting, but the premise is like, the guy loves rom-coms. And he likes rom-coms with like, he likes the childhood friend trope. And it's not that he's not disappointed that he doesn't have a childhood friend and so he can't do that trope. He's disappointed because he thinks his childhood friend isn't into him. And so reality isn't like fiction. I want to strangle this motherfucker. And also, I'm currently staring at a picture of the childhood friend grabbing onto his arm in the most lovingly please fuck me way possible. I hate it. I hate all of it. It sucks shit. Character designs are pretty meh, except for the titties. And color palette's kind of bleh. It's oversaturated in some weird ways. I hate all of this.
Okay, yeah, you're just gonna come off the list now. Alright, next end cap. Oshi no Ko Season 3. We're getting deep into the stuff that that we're catching up to where I am in the manga now, because the manga releases have been a bit slow from Yen Press with this one. I believe it's Yen Press or Square Enix. One of them is doing it. But anyway, really liked the first two seasons. I still think the second season is the prime arc of the manga, and it sort of starts to dip a little from there. Not catastrophically so, but anyway, this is too much talking. Let's watch Oshi no Ko.
Alright, another season of Oshi no Ko in the bag. This is season 3. Fun little side tangent. I was like 11 episodes was the listed length for this, and I finished episode 10, and I was like, okay, so I'm recording this the day that it finished airing. So I'm like, okay, episode 11's probably going to go like just barely past where I am in the manga, because Yen Press has been really behind with their releases for Oshi no Ko for some reason. I don't know why, because the manga ended at least 6 months ago, maybe almost a year ago. I don't remember when the manga ended, but it was a while ago. And they're still, like, volume 13 comes out next month, and there's 16 volumes, so they're a little behind. But anyway, I was like, okay, this episode will probably finish like just barely past where I am in the manga, which I think was what it was like with season 2. Go back to my episode where I covered season 2 for my thoughts on that. And season 1, I've covered all of Oshi no Ko so far on this on the seasonal wrap-up show. And then, so I'm like, okay, I load up the episode. Double length. Cool! So, pretty significant chunk of new content for me that I have not seen yet, aside from one spoiler, you know the one. So this is more Oshi no Ko, I have to say. It is just continuing on as it always has, but with the reincarnation element finally coming more back into the fray. They touched on it a little bit in season 2, I believe, with the little girl, and I've already forgotten the name of Ai's Aqua and Ruby's actual father, Kamiki, I think, who looks like is just a serial killer, which I think fits fine for a motivation. A serial killer who is snuffing out the lights of aspiring stars. He gets a kick out of snuffing them out. So if that's where it's heading, I'm fine with that as a motivation. If it gets a little more complicated than that, could go either way. If it goes supernatural, I'm probably going to have some issues with it. If it stays grounded in reality as just like some fucked up dude killing people, fine with that. So as it stands, fine with the motivation. And it also works really well as by having him be underage when Aqua and Ruby were conceived, so that it puts up this legal shield around him of sorts. I don't know exactly how that works, but it works somehow. So anyway, what are the big arcs for this season? So we have the what do you call it? The Kana scandal and the start of the 15-year lie stuff. I think there was some stuff that happened before that. Honestly, I'm already forgetting what happened in the first few episodes. For some reason, I'm just my memory, my long-term memory, it do be doing things. Anyway, but I remember how it made me feel, and it was very gripping, as Oshi no Ko always is. It's just incredibly tightly directed in terms of like suspense and keeping your attention and making sure you are locked the fuck into everything that is happening. Oh right, we started with the cosplay thing, the whatever the name of that show is, which I have some issues with. One, they say that it's like not TV, it's like a web show, but then they also talk about it like it is a TV show. Maybe it's like, maybe they mean like from a production standpoint, but the wording got a little confusing on that. But this show is very good at just keeping you locked in for the ooh, how is this going to turn out kind of stuff. And also, it's probably the best, what I like to call soapboxing anime that I've seen. Or I guess I mostly I used to refer to manga. I still have a video planned that maybe I'll make at some point. I call it When Manga Authors Get on Their Soapbox. Specifically, the video is about Fire Force, Platinum End, and Blue Flag. Two of those have some very weird things to say about gay people, and one of them, well, is Fire Force, and you probably know the scene I'm talking about, where the manga author decides to do a bit of a get up on his soapbox and say, this is a thing that I believe in, and you're all wrong for saying that I'm wrong about this thing, or something along those lines. Oshi no Ko also does that, but to a less extreme extent, or I should say it's to a less self-aggrandizing extent, with all of the stuff that is, there's a lot of complaining about the industry that happens in this show. In this season in particular. Well, actually it happens in all the seasons. Like season 1 had with the Love for Real or whatever the reality show was, there was a lot of that in it. It's a lot of Akasaka has a axe to grind with the entertainment industry in certain ways, but he also does it in a way that explains the industry. It's not just a character sitting there going, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and I'm right. And you're all stupid. It's a lot more of like, okay, well, here is the entire system that we have created. Here is how all of it works, and here are the faults in it that I can't fucking stand. But we kind of have to work with those faults, or work around those faults in interesting ways. So I think Oshi no Ko is the best soapboxing anime / manga that I have seen so far. Akasaka, the author, Asa Akasaka, is really good at doing that. And also just sort of zeroing in on how, like, modern speak, so to say, like how modern conversations tend to go, especially with young people. He was really good at that with Kaguya-sama, and he's really good with that with Oshi no Ko. So, really good dialogue writing, both in the manga and in the anime. The anime adaptation is pretty stellar. Honestly, I think at this point, I think the anime might be a better product solely because of the animation. This is still at Doga Kobo, I believe. Perhaps to the detriment of Doga Kobo, because like ever since Oshi no Ko started, I don't think Doga Kobo has put out a really solid production. Did they do Torture Princess? I don't think they did Torture Princess. I think that was someone else. But like, I think the only really solid even decent production that Doga Kobo has put out since Oshi no Ko started was Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence, which still wasn't that impressive, but it was competent. Which, if you've been following the seasonal wrap-up show, or you are a seasonal garbage eater like I am, you know that competent is not common. It's not common to find you're not finding competent shows more than half the time. You're just not. But anyway, we're talking about Oshi no Ko now, which is an absolutely fucking stellar production. The immense amount of detail put into the character designs and the color design and some of the more abstract imagery when it gets real dark with its themes, or with the, not necessarily with its themes, but with the characters' psyches. Well, you could argue the themes are pretty dark when you're a starving child dying of starving, and your mom doesn't give a fuck about you. Not starving. I know that's not what she was dying of. I just did it for the meme. You know the meme. I'm a starving child starving to death, and this is the last thing you'll ever see. I'll see. Goodbye forever. With Sarina / Ruby. But yeah, color work is fucking phenomenal. And we even, I think last season I noted that there were a few compositing issues here and there, and I sort of waved it away because I was like, well, the artwork is so fucking good on top of it that I'm not as upset with the compositing issues. Did not notice any compositing issues at all this time. This is just a fucking immensely solid production, front to back. And it even has a little bit more Sakuga than I'm used to with Oshi no Ko. for the most part, Oshinoko is a very still series. It has its small movements here and there, but for the most part, it's a very still series. But occasionally, especially with this season, it's got some nice little bursts of character acting, Sakuga, and all of that that are really fucking well animated. Especially in the OP and ED. This is, I don't give a fuck how this makes me look. The shot of Memcho shaking her ass in the OP is just like burned into my brain for some reason. I was just like, wow, that's really good. that OP is fucking phenomenally animated and phenomenally like, directed. It might be my favorite OP so far. I think the first OP still has it beat for the song, because Idol is just iconic. And I'm sure if I heard a little clip from the second OP, I would remember it, but it's not standing out to me for some reason. This one this one's definitely gonna stick with me. Although I will say, this season made me realize, and I know this is not the point of the show. This is not an idol anime. It is an anime that has idols in it and talks about idols a lot, but it is not selling itself as an idol anime. However, it doesn't have a lot of good songs like from the idols. They really don't do anything with that, which I don't think it would have necessarily added a ton, but it would have been cool to actually like get a taste for what this idol group actually sounds like, because like you don't even hear them perform that much. Like, they did the OP for the first episode for this season, and I've already completely forgotten what it sounds like. I don't remember what the big song from the second season sounds like either. So kind of weird that the show with idols in it doesn't have a lot of good songs, I guess. Minor nitpick, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, because again, that's not what Oshinoko really about. But I like idols. I like idols. But yeah, this was an immensely solid production. And we've sort of crested the peak of sort of like the rising, what am I trying to say? The characters are at their moral peak, I guess, at the end of the second season. What I'm trying to say is this is the slide down into absolute fucking depravity, in terms of ethics, I guess I should say. And also just straight up depravity, depending on where the reveal at the end of the final episode goes in the next season. But this is Aqua just going full doomer, committing to the master plan he has to bring his father to justice, and then probably kill him at some point. And he's still Aqua. He is still the absolutely calculating fiend that he is, but also he's starting to see that how his actions are rubbing off on other people. Ruby in particular, Ruby becoming much more cynical after learning that Sensei / Aqua had died a while ago, and so the person that she had been performing for no longer exists, really. Yeah, so Ruby's character degeneration was very engrossing to watch this season. Just not necessarily completely abandoning her morals, but to an extent loosening her grip on, like, oh, I have on things, and being like, oh, yeah, I guess I should lie a little bit. I should mess with people a little bit. I should use some conniving to get them to go my way for my master plan and all that, because yeah, it's good stuff. Kana, as usual, is Kana. She's best girl still. Just a very incredibly complex look at the child star turned idol, trying to avoid scandals and ultimately realizing, like, oh, yeah, I'm not cut out for idol work at all. I just want to go back to acting, really. Not that she dislikes the idol work, but that it's just like, this is not an industry where she does not like the tiptoeing around in the idol industry as it is. And having to constantly dodge scandals and stuff. And I like that everything, all of the maliciousness of all the characters doing malicious things felt very believable and realistic. It felt very much like, oh yeah, this is, I could see, based on who this person is and what their situation is, I could see them doing these nasty things. Like the director for the reality show, for the interview show or whatever, and the reporter trying to dig up the scoop on the director, but Kana ends up getting caught in the crossfire. And then, of course, the big, like, Aqua just doing crossing the line of just selling out Ai's legacy to set up the grand master plan that will be covered in the next season, which I am very excited to see how it goes. The little girl character is mildly concerning, because, like, I don't think the show needs her necessarily, and it could very much end up overcomplicating the ending, because, like, we don't really need, like, an overseer kind of character for this. It could have just been like, oh, hey, these two characters just happened to reincarnate and remember their past lives. It could have just been that simple. I think the audience would have bought that. We'll see where it goes, I guess. We'll see if this has an actually solid final finale, or if the ending is as tumultuous and controversial as people say it is, and if this turns out to be another Beastars. Certainly hope it's not another Beastars. I would not, I'm not, because I'm way more invested in this ending well than I was Beastars, because I think this maintained for 3 straight seasons, whereas Beastars just was sort of like really strong at the start and then just gradually just kind of like, okay, and then so hopefully we don't get up for Oshi no Ko. There is definitely something here that could do that. That being, Aqua finally reveals to Ruby that he knows she's Sarina, the sick girl from the first episode who dies and reincarnates, and that he was her doctor. And then we get the thing from Ruby of like, hey, you remember that promise where you said you'd marry me when I turned 16? Well, I'm 16 now. And boy, that could throw a real wrench into this finale. Like, man, that some fourth, either we didn't this isn't really something you could take out of the anime adaptation because it is kind of fundamental to where these characters are heading, but like, man, I'm not sure about this. This could end badly. Not in the sense of are we getting an incest ending thing, because I feel like I would have definitely heard about an incest ending. Don't tell me what the ending is, by the way. I'm waiting for the final season. But there's definitely going to be a lot of drama that pops up from this. Although I don't think there can't be a lot of episodes in the final season. Like, probably 9 to 10 at most. Because, like, there's less than 3 volumes left to adapt. And it's going at a pretty brisk pace with adaptations. Like, the last couple episodes, at least, they were going, like, 4 chapters an episode. And we're well into the 120s now, chapter-wise, out of 168, I believe. So, like, maybe 11 episodes for the last season. But either way, it's going to be brisk and short, and it's probably, depending on the content, going to hit real hard and fast. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Oh, I do want to mention, I still love the mangaka character in this, the author of Tokyo Blade. She gets a brief cameo appearance in this, being her freako self. I love her. Good manga writers are really good at writing manga writers, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I'm also really excited to see where Akane is going to go from here, now that Aqua has cut her off and she's still like, but she fully knows what Aqua is trying to do with trying to trap the person who caused Ai's death. And she's going like, well, I know what you're doing. And if this is just a movie for vengeance, then fine by me. But if you try anything past that, I'm gonna fucking stop you. So yeah. I'm very interested in seeing where all this is going. It's an incredibly thrilling ride, very dramatic. I will say, as a final note, I'm torn as to whether this final episode needed to be double length, or if the second half should have been saved for next season. Because on the one hand, that stinger of her still wanting to get married to Sensei, who is now Aqua, would have been a hell of a swing as like a cliffhanger ending. But it comes like slightly after the halfway point of the episode. I think it's like 27 minutes in. So they would have had to cut some content and then like cut out the OP for the final episode, and I would have had to condense it even more. So I don't know if that would have worked in terms of pacing, because again, this show is phenomenally paced. But on the other hand, the second half of this episode would have worked great as a season opener, and the fucking stinger at the end of that with like the, hey, would you like to be a child actor to this probably supernatural entity, would have been a fun episode 1 closer. Yeah. I'm torn on that. I think it's fine as it is. I think it could have gone either way, although I think there would have been maybe more issues if they had split it up. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Oshi no Ko. It's a great PG-13 dive into the entertainment industry and how it fucks with people. Because I feel like anything darker than this would have been, I guess, distasteful, for lack of a better term. And I think this show still wants to be optimistic. I mean, it is about people who are still working in the industry. So, yeah. Yeah, really enjoying Oshi no Ko. I hope it doesn't drop the ball next season.
Okay, Oshi no Ko Season 3 is complete. And you know what? You're going in the number 1 spot for now. Sorry, Shiba Yugi, but I really fucking like Oshi no Ko. You're getting a strong 8. Boy, I hope the next season sticks the landing.